Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and welcome to something a little bit different. The Crash dance is one of the most iconic things about the character. Created by Megumi Hosoya for the Crash 1 commercials in Japan, Naughty Dog liked the dance so much they incorporated it into the games as his victory animation in 2, 3, and CTR. And the other devs who've made Crash games kept including it as well. As such, the dance has actually slowly morphed over time. It's never really looked the same since the Naughty Dog days. Today I want to look back at all the different variants of the Crash dance and rate them all on this tier list. Yes, I'm very timely when it comes to popular internet trends. That said, let's begin. First up, let's look at the very first rendition of the dance from the Japanese Crash 1 commercials. The models and animations are a bit on the rough side, but hey, this is the one and only time you'll see the villains do the dance alongside Crash. The dance moves themselves have all been solidified here, except that in the very first move they step forward, and when this became Crash's victory animation, he just steps in place. The commercial itself isn't too nostalgic for me, as I didn't see it until way later, but all things considered, the villains joining in, the blockiness of the animation, the early Japanese 3D models, and I'll give this very first look at the Crash dance a B. Next is the iconic dance that we Americans all know, the victory animation from Crash 2, 3, and CTR. What can you say about this one? It's goofy, it's energetic, it's easy to do in real life. The thrust was always the funniest move to watch or do, and like I said in my Ultimate Lore Iceberg video, the ending move seems like it was inspired by this part of Michael Jackson's Thriller. Plus in these games, it acted as something of a reward for going out of your way to collect a gem or a relic. Sure, the da-da-da-da of Crash 1 was quirky, but this dance was more full of life, and some of these gems were harder to obtain. So it was always satisfying seeing Crash celebrate his achievement in his own way. This is definitely an S-tier dance, no doubt about it. So now that we've got the Crash dance in the games, Japan must have not liked that we didn't incorporate the full thing in Crash 2, so on the main menu of the Japanese version of Crash 3, we got a more full version of the dance from the commercials. It includes the moves we're all familiar with, but then deviates to include some newer ones. And it's every bit as silly as the original shortened version. It is really cool to see Naughty Dog animate a fuller dance. It just further shows off how flexible the PS1 model was back in the day, especially compared to the original Crash 1 model. I'll give this one an A rank. Crash Bash, Wrath of Cortex, and the GBA games didn't include the dance, so we're going to skip all the way to Crash Nitro Kart, and while the dance is the same, the moves are very stilted here. Everything looks the way it should, but doesn't feel the way it should. The opening move looks stiff and like Crash is stuttering, the thrust looks like he's trying to give someone the Heimlich, and the animation doesn't even loop properly. An attempt was made, but it doesn't really capture that energetic feel the dances before it had. Even the OG Japanese dance had more energy to it. Gonna have to give this one a D. Alright, on to Twinsanity. The dance isn't featured in-game while you're playing, but in the ending cutscene when Cortex gets beamed into Crash's mind, he gets surrounded by a ton of Crashes, and like a psychotic flash mob, they all do a synchronized Crash dance around him. This version of the dance is a lot better. The only thing that feels off is the thrust, where Crash moves his arms more than his hips, so it just kinda looks like he's jittering in place. Everything else looks solid and has that energy though, so I'll go ahead and place Twinsanity's Crash dance in the B tier. Titans and Mind Over Mutant are interesting. This time the Crash dance has been turned into an idle animation, but in these two games it's been completely overhauled. Well, okay, the beats and moves are somewhat the same, but their execution is different. Instead of stepping in place with his arms out, Crash actually takes those steps forward now like in the original Japanese dance, and his arm movements are more similar as well. They're actually more in line with the original dance than the OG American dance was. Instead of those short thrusts with the arms coming down, he does a bit of a running man. The three thrusts look quite different with new hand motions. The crouch turnaround was turned to this little shimmying turn, and the final turn back to the camera is more upright as well. I do like this variation, but it feels a lot slower in comparison. Like, Crash is very expressive and fluid in his animations, but his transitions from move to move feel a lot slower than in other versions of the dance. This is a tough one, but I think I'll put this one in the C tier. Crash's playable guest appearance in Skylanders Imaginators ended the 6-year hiatus of no games, and as part of all the many different references to the original trilogy, Vicarious Visions included the Crash dance, which Insane Trilogy and CTR Nitro Field would borrow. This updated take is just as expressive as ever, and all the moves look the exact same as before, except the three thrusts. This time those got turned into the Running Man. I guess Vivi thought the thrust looked too offensive or something, and it's a bummer, but the other moves are very faithful to the original rendition. But I'm sorry, the lack of thrust kills it for me, so this modern version of the Crash dance can go Running Man its way into C tier. However, the cool thing about Ensign is that with a playable on-foot Coco, that means she gets her own version of the crash dance too. Even though it doesn't take from the original Japanese dance, it's still really cute in its own right, and making hers different from Crash's gives her a bit more personality in my opinion. So what moves does she do? Well, the beats of the overall dance are similar to Crash's, but the moves are a bit different. Her first move is much cuter and flashier. Her little two thrusts look more like a weird karate chop move. She even makes a stern little face when she does it. Then she does the running man. I guess that could be why they changed it, because they didn't want Coco thrusting her hips as well. And then she does the turnaround, but hers is, again, adorable, and she kinda stumps into place. Then turns to the camera. It fits her for sure, and I just love the fact that Vivi even decided to give Coco her own version of the dance. I may be biased because Coco's one of my favorite characters, I don't care, but her dance is definitely an A tier. And last but not least, we come to the still as of now unused version of the Crash dance that's in Crash 4. And y'all, I love this rendition. Toys for Bob stepped it up and made this not one of, but the most expressive Crash dance in the whole series. The animations are fluid, energetic, silly, and most importantly, the thrusts are back! And just look at Crash's face when he's doing all of this. He's certainly happy he's no longer restricted by running men and stilted animations. He's having fun, and by extension, we're having fun watching him. It just really sucks that this dance isn't actually in the game, or at least I haven't seen it in game yet. I'm not sure if this was going to be an idle animation and a level victory animation, or both, but if it's not going to show up in Crash 4 via random patch, here's to hoping it makes its way into Crash Team Rumble, because this version of the Crash dance is too good to let rest on the cutting room floor. This is an S-tier dance by a long shot. And there you have it. It's a silly aspect of the series to look back on, but the Crash dance is so ingrained into the franchise, it then becomes interesting to see all of the different tweaks and changes it's received throughout the years. What started as a wacky little gimmick to advertise the original game in Japan became a staple attribute of Crash's character. And to me it's become an expression of just how wacky and cartoony he is. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more Crash videos, don't forget to sub and like, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, I'm Mark, and take care.